First things first, let's just say it loud and clear. Nick and Vanessa Lachey totally killed it at the reunion this year. They dropped all of the incessant baby-making questions and got down to business and held people accountable. The only slight gripe I have is they didn't really ask which couples were still dating or continuing on with a relationship post-show, because it appears as though Jimmy and Chelsea and AD and Clay may still be dating based off some social media posts, which we will get into in this recap. But first, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more reality TV recaps and pop culture news. So if I had to rate the reunion, I would give it a solid 10 out of 10, you guys. It was perfect from start to finish. And I just loved how they did their intro from the actual Love is Blind pods that the contestants used. And then they showed us around the set and everything like that until we ultimately led to the reveal set where everybody always sees each other for the first time, which is where they decided to shoot this reunion. Mwah, chef's kiss on that. Though, one thing that I didn't like at the intro was, like, you know, you'd have these couples, Alexa and Brennan were making out on the couch. Then when they get to Brett and Tiffany, it almost simulates as if Tiffany was about to blow Brett. And I really didn't like the actualization of them in that way, to be honest with you. But let's talk about the things that I did love. AD's dress and Amy's dress. Both of them looked absolutely beautiful with all of their sparkles. The red was killer on Amy and the brown was killer on AD. Just stunning, stunning girls. And then we saw some of the alumni from the show. So there were Brett and Tiffany, Chelsea Kwame, etc., etc. But listen, where the hell were Lauren and Cameron? Like, those two are synonymous with this show. Did they fall out with Love is Blind? Like, is everything okay? Because that really is quite concerning, but I digress. I would have loved to see them there though. So, and speaking of season 1 couples, there's another season 1 couple that's still married, and that is Amber and Barnett, another couple that I would have liked to see there. Well, actually, no, I'm lying. I don't care. But I do know that Amber hates Netflix and she speaks out about them all the time. She says that they're together in spite of the show and not because of the show. So of course she wasn't going to show up for this reunion. Now, let's talk about the actual couples from this season, shall we? We jump right in with the Jeremy, Sarah Ann, and Laura love triangle and rumors of Jeremy being engaged while he applied to join the show. He denied it, but here's the thing. Jeremy is a proven liar. He will look you in your face and tell you a straight up lie. You will have proof of him lying and he'll still tell you that you're misinterpreting things. So I don't know that I believe him. But both Laura and Sarah Ann said that he did tell them that he was engaged in the past, but I don't think that that absolves him from the idea that he was engaged while he was applying, you know? So I typically am going to err on the side of patterns, and pattern shows that Jeremy is a cheater and Jeremy is a liar. So therefore, I believe the allegations against him. Now, speaking of lies, Vanessa asks him why he lied to Laura about his location when he was sharing his location, so obviously she would be aware. And then he immediately deflects. And I'm so glad that Vanessa picked up on it and brought the question back to him. Again, Jeremy, why did you lie? Like, this guy is such a master manipulator. It's honestly rather scary. I'm glad that Laura dragged him. And of course, Pick Me Ann had to jump in and defend her raggedy man. And I loved how, like, at this point, Jessica, she jumps off the turnbuckle with her elbow to drag Pick Me Ann. It was so effing good. I was like, wow, we're only like 5-10 minutes into this, and I already know this is going to be an incredible reunion special. Listen, overall, this was the best reunion episode that I've seen across all seasons. So one thing that we get is like a never before scene of Sarah Ann and Laura talking, and Pick Me Ann actually apologizes for telling Jeremy that the door's still open with her if he wants to spin the block or whatever. And Laura accepted the apology and everything. It was a very mature conversation, and I kind of gagged when Laura was like, listen, I'm kind of shocked that he's even with you, because I asked him and we talked about this, like, was there a chance, like in another parallel universe, that you would have proposed to Sarah Ann? And Jeremy told me, hell no, absolutely not. So the fact that Pick Me Ann decided to not only like stay with him, like at that point and up until now, like almost a year later, is crazy to me. Self-esteem, girls, let's get some of it. And by the way, the stray that Jimmy caught at this point, because Laura says that Jeremy was bitching about how like now he's gonna look even worse than Jimmy, and that was hilarious. And guess what? Jeremy, the freaking liar, denies it again. He's like, I don't know what she was talking about with that. Shut up. Because thank God Jimmy is here to say, you know exactly what she's talking about, because you've made a comment like this to my face. And then Jeremy the liar, what does he do? Oh, well, I don't remember saying that, but if I did say that, I apologize. This man is so fake. You cannot believe a single thing that comes out of his mouth. And you could just tell that Jimmy was pissed. Like that, it's like he was reliving that moment all over again, you know? So good for him for calling Jeremy out. Like the more people that point to how big of a liar this guy is, the better, because it truly is like a sickness with him. He lies like he breathes. Like it's so easy to him. It's so automatic to him. And that is scary. Guess what, you guys? It turns out that none of the Love is Blind season 6 ladies speak to Pick Me Ann. In fact, who's let it be known? I think it was Chelsea. Chelsea's like, oh, well, let's talk about how after the lake house, you unfollowed us all and you stayed friends with our fiancés on Instagram. Whoop. Girl, Sarah Ann, you are never beating the Pick Me allegations. And then I think it was Jessica who said that she kicked her out of the girls group chat. Yes, drag her. And then Chelsea decides to drop an awesome bombshell there. She's like, you know, I've seen Jeremy a couple times and every time I see him, he and Sarah Ann are broken up. So it's interesting that they're like, you know, all lovey-dovey here. Ah! And then lying ass Jeremy, what does he do? He lies again. He's like, no, I haven't seen you a couple times. I've only seen you once. Chelsea's like, no, you've seen me twice. Boop! There you go. Like this guy, he's sick. I'm telling you, someone needs to investigate his head because there's something wrong with it. Sarah Ann, how do you not see all of the glaring red flags? Your man is a habitual cheater. He lies all the freaking time. And now you two are on and off in a relationship that hasn't even lasted a year yet. And you're living together. Like this relationship is terrible. It really, really is. I don't know why she won't leave this guy and move on with her life. Like it's not gonna end happy. It just can't. By the way, can we get into how she looked like a freaking prom queen from 2008 in this like reunion with like the tacky hair, the dress, the hot pink dress, and then she just has all this like offensive glitter just sparkling in my damn eyes every time she moves. It was too much, girl. It was too much. Less is more. At this point, Nick Lachey is tired of sitting on the sidelines. He wants to be tagged in so he can go to town on this couple as well. So he calls out a video that Sarah Ann posted online claiming that Love is Blind was just made for entertainment. And look, people seem to be entertained, so they did their job. And so he's like, no, you know, there are people here who come genuinely looking for love and they come for the right reasons. What were you talking about in that video? And so Sarah Ann starts deflecting. I'm like, oh girl, not you learning from your man how to not answer a question head on. And then again, Nick brought her back to answer the question. He's like, nope, you're not going to deflect. Answer it. Did you do this for genuine reasons or were you only doing this for entertainment? At this point, we have to say goodbye to Laura, who only kind of Skyped into the reunion because she was working in Barcelona. And she wanted to let it be known before she left that she was really, really sorry for the bean dip joke towards AD. Remember when she told her fiance to go slap AD's like boobs or something like that. So she let it be known. And she also told us that she had apologized to AD off camera, on camera. So I'm happy that she brought that up herself because we never saw her actually apologize for it. And that was something I was curious about. So it's unfortunate that Nick and Vanessa forgot to bring it up, but I'm happy that Laura took it upon herself to bring it up. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and forgive her now. Even though it had nothing to do with me, I was holding it against her because I don't like this type of thing, you know? So Laura, I want you to know that I forgive you, girl. I forgive you now. So next we get Trevor from Staples, who comes in fresh off his shift. What the hell was this man wearing? He looked I can't even say a hot mess because he didn't even have that part. He just looked a mess, you know, like just so weird. So anyway, we immediately, as soon as his like cheeks touch the couch, we start talking about him being trifling. And Nick and Vanessa pull up his text messages to his then girlfriend about how he's just gonna go in here. He's not gonna marry anybody because he wants to come out and marry this girl. Like, shut up, dude. Like, this, by the way, this is the best reunion ever, honestly. At this point, like, it is cemented in my head that there has never been a reunion special this damn good. The text messages, you guys, holy cow. So like before Trevor even responded, actually, I should have said, he just sat there like, do you know that meme of that girl, that black girl in the courthouse, and she's wearing like the blue shirt and she's got the bangs. She's like, when she gets caught cheating on somebody. That was Trevor. Like we were pulling out the receipts on him and he's like trying to come up with a good lie, you know, to save his ass. I guess he didn't think that they would bring this up. Like maybe he thought they were just focused on the things that were shown, but like they hit him with this immediately and it was amazing. And one thing I hated though was as they were reading the text messages, he was like trying to make these like, you know, cutesy faces, cringy faces. And I was like, dude, this is embarrassing. Like you are too old, you are too grown to be acting like this. And what you're doing is genuinely hurtful to people. So I'm not going to laugh about it with you, like it's a really terrible thing to do to people. So he scrambles to make up a lie. He claims that he wasn't dating this girl. Meanwhile, in the text messages, he was telling her he loved her and that he wasn't going to actually go through with this experiment and marry anybody because she was the one for him. So you're not dating this girl, but you love her, and you tell her in black and white text that you're going to marry her? Psycho. Oh my God. So now between Jeremy the liar, we've got Trevor the freaking liar too. Then you've got Clay, traumatized Clay over there, who can't breathe without thinking about cheating on somebody. My goodness, the dating pool is crap for women. And this is representative of that. It's hell out there. So Nick called him out. He's like, okay, well, if she's not your girlfriend, then why are you telling her you love her? And then Trevor's like, well, I care about her. Why are you texting her, telling her you love her? And don't worry, because you're not going to marry anybody on this show. You're going to be with her. He didn't have an answer for that. And so all he says is, I know I'm toxic, I know I'm toxic. I signed up for this show for some good reasons and some bad reasons. Why would you come on this show about expediting love to marriage, right? When you are toxic and you don't have the right motives. That makes you a really scary person. That makes you a really bad person. Trevor is a genuinely bad person who really played up the puppy dog persona, and people fell for it. I fell for it too. But that's what makes modern dating so scary. There are people like this. Is this a personality disorder that makes someone act like this? This is sickening. It really, really is. It's not funny. It's sickening. And I'm part of some Love is Blind groups on Facebook, and the amount of women that I saw this morning writing these posts they were so hard on Trevor. How could they hold Trevor accountable? That's so mean. They bullied him. It's women like you that embolden men to act like this, because some of you are so freaking spineless. You will always make up excuses for men, and you will always coddle them instead of holding them accountable. It's sick. What Trevor did was literally sick, and I don't even think they were hard on him about it. They just confronted him point blank period about it. There's nothing wrong with what they did on the show. Trevor, his little bitch ass, did I say that? He asked to leave and they said, all right, go. They weren't really hard on him. They just told him what you did was wrong. At this point, after he asked to leave and they say, okay, go ahead, we don't give an F. Someone else asked if he came here to further his career. He said, what career? He said he came for good and bad reasons, but he doesn't expound on what those reasons are. And it's you're scary, dude. You're really unwell. So I'm glad that they skewered him. And as he was walking out, just before he walks out, they did a PSA against people coming on the show looking for fame. Good. I hope that this deters people from doing that, because you will be exposed. Okay. Your exes, your girlfriends, your side pieces, they're going to come out. And you guys are going to get roasted on this show the way Trevor just was, because that's what you deserve for wasting people's time, for stealing a spot from a genuine person and stealing an opportunity from another genuine person. He stole a spot from a genuine man, and he stole a chance at love for a genuine woman. Good. Drag his ass. And when he left, there was not a single applause with his stupid outfit. So I'm happy. That's how they needed to make an example of him, because this is unacceptable. I am so tired of these fame whore narcissists coming on this show to ruin it. So anyway, let's move on to Clay. Clay apologizes for wasting AD's family's time at the wedding. Listen, on this show, you were heavily encouraged to go until the very end, right? So, and there were once upon a time, I think now they got rid of this because of all the lawsuits against them, but you would even get fined for not making it to the wedding. So, I don't know if that's still the case or anything like that, but people are supposed to make it to the wedding, even if they want to say no. People have been saying no at the altar for many years. It's just that in the past, they haven't been as open as Clay has been. Clay has been open from the very beginning. So in my opinion, I don't feel bad for AD. AD should have been the one to say no, but AD doesn't have an ounce of self-respect. AD does not have an ounce of self-esteem. And that's her true problem. We're going to get into this a little bit more later, but spoiler alert, she made that abundantly clear when she spun the block on somebody who is a grade A psycho, who treated her like garbage. Between saying yes to Clay at the altar and going back to somebody who treated you like garbage, sorry, look at the material. It is so clear that AD has no self-esteem, and that's something that's really, really sad. She should have said no at the altar, but she couldn't because She has no self-esteem. Anyway, Clay says that he struggles with knowing if he's a good person or a bad person. And he says that AD always uplifted him and was the love of his life. And so he apologizes for not rising up to the occasion, which I thought was rather wonderful. And he also talks about like how he would date her again. But at this point, she says no, she wouldn't date him again because he fumbled her basically and played in her face. And I'm like, you know what, girl? I'm glad that you're not here for it and that you're ready to move on, because I was scared based on some social media videos of you guys spending Thanksgiving together that you guys had gotten back together, but apparently that's not the case. I don't know. Honestly, I can't keep up, but I'm happy if that is her genuine sentiment about the entire thing. So at this point, Clay starts crying at the thought of AD not believing that he genuinely loves her. And he says that he has seen multiple therapists over the past year to heal. Listen, I find Clay to be very genuine. I think he has been 100% honest throughout this process, and that he was sincere in this process, and that he has been trying to grow this entire time. And so I commend him for not jumping from this engagement to another relationship the way a lot of people here have, and historically on the show have as well. I commend him for seeking therapy instead. You know, that's a huge step, and that goes to show like where his true intentions lie. He wants to better himself, and he wants to allow himself to have the opportunity to love, because that's one of his blockages, is he feels like he doesn't deserve it, you know, and that's something that he's been working on through therapy, which I think is super, super lovely. So do you remember when on the show, Clay mentioned that like he watched some like men on the show in prior seasons, like who really exemplified what it was to be like a man who was ready for marriage and to be a good husband and stuff? Well, it turns out he was talking about Brett. Remember, Brett and Tiffany, one of the most beautiful Love is Blind couples. And so Nick Lachey asked Brett how he feels about Clay, you know, kind of putting him on a pedestal in that regard. And Brett gets emotional talking about it because he too didn't come from like the perfect family with like the perfect mom-dad dynamic, you know, and he talks about his own insecurities about whether he is able to show up as a good husband to Tiffany and everything like that. And I felt like that was a super duper touching moment, you know? Again, Clay has always talked about how there's a lack of good Black men in his real life and in the press, right? When you see the Nick Cannons, when you see the Trash Can Thompsons, when you see the Kanye West, like the bad outweighs the good, you know? And so he's always wondering where he can turn to get this good, you know, kind of role model, right, as a Black man, because, you know, in his own life, his dad is a freaking cheating whore. His uncles, his cousins, everybody he knows, his friend circle, these people are not husband material. These people are not really, I guess, father material either, consequently, right? So it was nice to see that touching moment between the two of them. So next, we get to Chelsea and Jimmy, who surprisingly did not have a lot of time during this reunion, despite being like the couple that got the most airtime during the season. But anyway, they talk about Chelsea spilling his secret about boning one of his best friends. And they talk about how that was like the final nail in the coffin of their relationship. Like they tried to work through it, but it just wasn't possible. The damage was too great. So now I gotta say, well, why didn't they acknowledge the fact that they seem to be currently dating? You know, that's one thing I loved about the reunion when it first started, that they were very like tapped into what was going on in social media in regards to these like couples and relationships. So why didn't they bring that up when it came to the video of AD and Clay celebrating Thanksgiving together, or the photo of Chelsea and Jimmy having like lunch together? And I think there's been even more photos of the two of them like kind of on dates and whatnot. Anyway, that segment wasn't all that interesting, but there was something that was kind of fascinating, which is at a certain point, the host asked Jessica a question, and then you see Jimmy put his hand ever so delicately on Chelsea's thigh, and then she puts her hand over his, and then they just look at each other. She tells him he loves her, she loves him, and then he tells her he loves her. And then meanwhile, in the background, Jessica's answering the question. I'm like, wait a minute, Jessica, stop. Let's pan the cameras back over here and ask what the hell just happened. Because to me, I'm like, well, I guess this is a couple again. Like, how are we just going to skate over that, you know? Jess talks about how she thought she and Jimmy were friends, but then, and to the point where she would message him to encourage him and support him when the fandom was coming after him and dragging him, right? So she's like, all this time I thought we were friends. I was giving him support. But then one day I see an interview where he's saying, I got this great edit because in real life, I was so rude to him. I stormed out in 10 minutes during our final date, and that's what made him pick Chelsea. Like, that's not true. We had a big conversation and we both agreed to take time away. And then Jimmy, he played dumb about it. Like, oh, what bad interview? No, as soon as Jess said that, I knew what interview she was talking about because I recapped it. Because, Jimmy had some very strong words to say against her. He basically called her like self-absorbed, and just rude. So come on now. Anyway, so he does admit to it, but he stands by what he said about her storming out in 10 minutes. Jessica says, roll the tapes. And so the producers roll those damn tapes. It's kind of like Kitty Gate, right? Zainab and Cole. Well, the tapes show that she and Jeremy were in there for 2 hours, not 10 minutes. How do you mix up 2 hours and 10 minutes? Before they ultimately decided to take a pause. And throughout that entire interaction, Jessica was calm. Jessica was level-headed, and Jessica was respectful. And they both agreed to take a pause. So where does Jimmy get off completely misrepresenting that interaction? Because he used that to smear her name in the press. It's interesting. It makes you wonder what his motivation was behind that. Anyway, moving right along, I kind of wondered where Zach and Bliss were, but maybe, something to do with the baby or just regular life stuff. I think Zach quit his job as a lawyer. Can I say something, you guys? Zach, I feel like he is everything he accused Irina of being. He claimed that Irina just did the show to be an influencer, but if anybody is living that influencer life right now, it's Zach, okay? Like, Zach quit his job as a lawyer to be a full-time influencer. He's launching this book. He's doing Instagram ads for McDonald's and like all this other stuff. Like, he is living that influencer dream, which is great, but like, it's just like, isn't this all the stuff that you accused Irina of going after just because she didn't want your ass? Anyway, let me get back on topic. We saw footage from he and Bliss's baby shower. They are expecting a baby girl, and the whole cast was there to support them, which I thought was super duper sweet. I'm really happy for them. Then we talk about another couple, which is Brennan and Alexa, and who are also pregnant. They don't say what sex of their baby is. Giannina from season 1, by the way, she's pregnant, but it's not by someone in the franchise. It's some bachelor guy or whatever. And she's expecting a boy. She made some interesting comments about like the baby's skin tone and his name and stuff. I was like, that's interesting. Because one thing about Giannina is I remember her being white. Like, I know she's like, is she Argentinian or something? But like, her skin is white. Like, all the girls on the show, they're white. The white girls anyway. But they put on these tans that are so like this. They're like this color. Okay, on the reunion. It's kind of funny to see because the girls are this color and then the boys are like this color. And then she's like, yeah, if the baby's dark like me. I'm like, girl, you're not even dark. You are wearing a deep tan because I remember you being white. What are you talking about? So anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So they're expecting a baby. They don't say if it's a boy or a girl. And then they talk about their journey with infertility and how difficult that was. And I felt like it was important for them to mention it because, thankfully this season, Vanessa doesn't push about the baby thing. And so hopefully this was kind of like something that really sunk into her to why people are upset every time she brings it up. Because infertility is a thing that affects many couples, right? And many people, many men, many women. So you don't just go around asking people when they're going to have kids and stuff, And I'm sorry, but in this hellhole of a world, that is going down in flames, why are people always pushing people to breed right now? Like, anyway, that's a story for another day. That's a rant for another day. So they're expecting a baby. Congratulations to them as well. They used to be my faves of their season. I really do love their love story. So I will keep it just at that. But everything that happened after the pods and then after the altar and then in social media kind of ruined them for me. But I'm just going to stick to the love story that I watched and fell in love with, when it comes to them. Next, we move into Brittany and Kenneth. They get one question. Well, actually a couple of questions. It was a quick segment though, where Alexa asks Brittany if she thought that why not just bone this guy and see if that'll make the sparks and desire and passion and crave come to this relationship. And Brittany said, no, X is supposed to be a supplement, not the thing that makes you feel deeply for somebody, which I thought was a very beautiful answer. Then Nick asked Kenneth about his phone addiction, and he says that it's because of his work as a principal. He has never missed that much time, and so he really wanted to get back on top of things after 3 weeks away from his students and his teachers. Next, we've got Kenneth and Brittany talking about how they chat daily and FaceTime all the time. Listen, I'm really happy that they're on best terms and have turned into best friends, and how they're making an exit plan for their relationship as well, because of course it's going to make their future significant others rather uncomfortable as well, potentially anyway. So At this point, when they're talking to this couple, they do a cutaway shot of Colleen, and as usual, Colleen looks like a freaking hostage victim or whatever. Like, I don't know what it is, but she always looks like uncomfortable, like a hostage. And I'm like, are you okay, girl? Anyway, at this point, we flip to Matt, the potential serial killer, who refused to show up to the reunion. So they decide to just show proof that he was telling AD and Amber the exact same things. Like, I want to ask for your dad's hand in marriage. If you leave, I'll leave with you. It's you or nobody type stuff. Like, that guy is so unwell. He's really weird. I'm kind of disappointed, though, that they didn't show his rant about how he is the underdog and America loves a good underdog. Like, that was just so funny. I wanted to see it again. And so at this point, this is what I was mentioning earlier in my recap about AD having no self-respect and no self-esteem. She talks about how she went on 2 dates with Matt and she's all cheesing and stuff, and she's looking at Clay like he's supposed to be jealous that she is stupid enough to go on a date with a guy who played her on TV. You know, she was just talking about how, oh, you know, it was so terrible of him to do this to me, knowing my dad is dead. Like, he played with the dad card and my dad is dead. But yeah, I went out on 2 dates with him. Be jealous, Clay. You look stupid. You really do. You truly, truly do. And let's talk about these dates that Matt took her on. I think the first one was just a drinks date, and then the second one, what happened? He cooked for her, which I'm sorry, this is the cheap man's thing. They wanted to get you home to cook for you as quickly as possible so they don't spend any money on you and they don't court you properly, right? And what did this man cook for her? Rice and chicken. A bag of rice is what? $2? Chicken is like the cheapest meat ever. No effort. Rice and chicken is your first meal that you create for somebody or you cook for somebody. AD, please pick yourself up off the floor. Like, he played in your face twice now. What was that? Like, that's so embarrassing. Like, I think that AD genuinely needs to go to therapy because she has shown time and time again that she doesn't respect herself at all. And I hope that she did not let him hit it. I really, really do. But honestly, when she talks about, oh, he cooked me some rice and chicken, I'm like, girl, you probably were impressed and, you know, let him hit it, which, whew, if that's the case. Now, Clay was aware of their date and he didn't seem all that enthused about it, but it's kind of like whatever at this point. What can he do? He turned her down at the altar, so who cares now, right? By the way, I didn't know that Chelsea's casting gig for Love is Blind was a full-time job and that she had left the speech pathologist job for this. I thought it was like a side hustle, something she did from time to time, but this is a full-time 365 job, which is perfect for her and Kwame because they wanted a more nomadic lifestyle. Well, he especially, because that's what he had before doing this. So for her to leave her major gig to do something as risky as this, which is casting for a show, like, she loves that man, you guys. Like, so I hope he does right by her. That's major. So now they're traveling around very often, which I think is great. We then get an announcement that Micah and Paper Plate Izzy and Jessica are going to be on Perfect Match 2. By the way, what did Micah do to her face? Because, you know, they kept saying like, oh, this is Micah. I'm just like, I remember Micah. Like, she was that mean girl with Irina, right? But then I'm looking at this girl like, that's the Micah? Because I don't remember this girl. Like, she looked like a completely different person, which makes me sad because I remember that people were really mean to her and Irina. You know, people are so ironic on the internet. They go, oh, these girls are mean, so let me be even meaner to them so that I could show them a lesson that you shouldn't be mean. Like, that's basically what happened. People were making fun of her. She said that people were comparing her to, like, is it a Boston Terrier or like a French Bulldog or a pug or something like that? People were comparing her to a dog a lot. And then I remember on TikTok, she showed that she went to an orthodontist to get help for her jaw or her bite, and she said that it was because like people had been like commenting on it so much. So I think that that's why she kind of went overboard or whatever. She reupholstered her face, and you know, listen, it's quite sad to me because she was a cute girl already. You know, she's still cute now, but it's just like it didn't register for me that this was Micah, the same Micah. Anyway, Micah says that she and Jess bonded a lot and are besties now, and then Izzy claims that he's got good credit now, which, you know, is great if that is the truth, but he made no mention of upgrading from his paper plate. So I guess we'll have to wait for Perfect Match to get the status update on that. Anyway, you guys, this has been an incredible season of Love is Blind. I am so glad to have been on this journey with you. Thank you so much for joining me through all of these episode recaps, all of the gossip, all of the drama videos, and everything like that as well. Stay tuned for individual character analyses And what else? After the altar, I believe there will be an after the altar this season as well, which I definitely will be recapping for you as well. So if you had to rate this reunion episode on a scale from 1 to 10, please let me know what you would rate it. Again, I rated it a 10. It was incredible. It really, really is. Were there some things that I wish were explained a little bit more? Yeah, of course. But all things considered, this was perfect to me. It was great. It was amazing. And I hope that all future reunions follow along in this one's footsteps. That's all for now, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.